Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside the FLX. I'm Josh Durso, and as always, we are coming to you from the FingerLakes1.com studio in downtown Seneca Falls. We have a very interesting show today as we welcome former Seneca Falls Mayor Brad Jones into the studio. He's here to talk about obesity in the Finger Lakes and how it's impacting the region as a whole, as well as a particular program. Brad, welcome in.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Jim.
So, for those who don't know, you former mayor, retired, recently have gotten involved with a new weight loss program, we'll call it.
Yes.
You've been really energetic, politically, non-politically, in the community as a whole. What has given you this sort of burst of energy over the last so many years?
Well, it's a good question, and you mentioned the word retirement. I've been retired from ITT Goulds Pumps for 8 years, and shortly before retirement, a good friend had mentioned, Jonesy, do you know what retirement is? And I looked at him and I said, no, tell me more. He said, it's nothing more than a football game. The problem being you're in the fourth quarter with no timeouts left. And I've thought about that, not just for the community's health and wellness, but my own wellness, my family, my friends. And, fourth quarter with no timeouts left, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a slogan I've used the last 8 years, and we'll expand on it as we talk today.
So it specifically, the obesity, we'll call it a crisis.
Epidemic.
Epidemic. BlueCross BlueShield last year released some numbers. Between 60 and 66% of those living in the Finger Lakes region, around 478,000 people, are considered overweight or obese. Talk to us a little bit about what your personal take is on the epidemic as a whole.
Yeah, and it's an epidemic, and I think if you go to any schools, the first thing the administrator or a teacher may say with child obesity is a concern. But I think the first chapter in any book on obesity should be not just child obesity, but middle-age obesity, grandma and grandpa obesity. I mean, what we're seeing in our world today, in very strong numbers, as you mentioned here in Seneca County, is we have obesity that is overlapping 3 generations. And looking at it now that we're running a healthcare clinic concerns me because it almost seems as if it's acceptable. Mm-hmm. I know at 6:30 every night we watch the national news, and every other commercial has to do with a pharmaceutical pill. Mm-hmm. And, I think the mindset for a lot of people, especially parents and grandparents, is if I'm getting heavy, I can always go to my physician and get another pill. They're not thinking about going to the physician and saying, can you cut my medicine? So, yes, obesity is you mentioned 2/3. But my son Greg, my daughter-in-law Angela, and we own a fitness facility in Lockport, New York, about 2 hours west of here. Now, you would think a gym, we have 1,200 members, that obesity wouldn't even be on the radar. Mm-hmm. I think it's safe to say about 1/3 of our 1,200 members, they're not obese, but probably hit the category of overweight. Mm-hmm. So really, this subject that we're talking about today is on both sides of the walls, inside the gym, outside the gym.
Now, you personally you just talked about you're working with your son and your daughter-in-law. What's sort of been the journey like for you on the personal side?
Well, we've been in business now 3 years. Greg and Angela run it on a day-to-day business. I usually go up once a week. Good old dad, watch cash flow, yep, pay the bills. But Greg and I and Angela, we've always scratched our head because we have a lot of new members coming in that say, hey, I'd like to pay $19.99 a month. I'm overweight. I want to lose 80 pounds, and I'd like to walk on your treadmill. And we kind of look at each other saying, well, here's another one that thinks that they can lose weight, whether it's 80 pounds, 60 pounds, 30 pounds. You're not going to lose it on a treadmill. Mm-hmm. you've got to do a protocol diet, so to speak. You've got to lose the weight. A fitness club like ours, or a fitness club like they are here in Seneca Falls and Waterloo, it's to maintain health and a quality of life and get you in shape. But losing weight, you're not going to lose weight at the gym. Mm-hmm. So part of the story or the wake-up call is we knew that we had these type of clients coming in. But last December, there was a lady that was a longtime member that was actually paying some significant money to have a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Overweight, not obese. We'd lost touch. She hadn't been in the gym for 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to be there late December, and she walked in the door, and my son Greg said, "Wow, how did you lose all that weight?" She was actually nervous coming back to tell the owner of a gym that I couldn't lose weight here. I had to go elsewhere. Yeah. And Greg and Angela and I looked at each other saying, wow, this is what we have to do as an up-and-coming state-of-the-art gym, is not just to maintain good health or keep people in good shape, but we have to take care of the other side, getting them in position. And getting them in position is all about a diet and a healthy diet.
Now, specifically, the ideal protein protocol diet, as you've described it, how does it differ from what people might see in an infomercial or what they might read in a magazine?
Well, I know, and you can even ask my wife, Debbie, I've tried them all. You know, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, OptiFast, they're all good in their own ways. Atkins diet, I think we've all tried that, all meat-related. Ideal protein, and I want the reader, the viewer today to actually Google www.idealprotein.com. It's a relatively new protocol diet based in Canada. It's actually in the top 2 or 3 diet protocols. Where it differs from these names that I've just mentioned is it's a plant-based, high protein, little or no carb, plant-based, soy-based. I had mentioned medically approved, scientifically approved. And the thing that comes with this isn't just how to lose weight in the stomach, but how to change your thinking. I have found out, just going through a personal diet myself with Ideal Protein, as well as coaching new clients we have, is just having a coach on the journey with you helps so much, because most people go on a diet and, you know, it's like anything else. 2 weeks later, they're back in the refrigerator. My personal story, after this lady left the gym, I'm driving home on the thruway, and my size 38, I'm thinking, boy, I'd fit better in a size 40. My next 17, I know I'd be a 17 and a half. And I said, well, if she can do it, why can't I do it? And I went to an open house in Buffalo. 11 weeks later, I was down 41 pounds. Unheard of. I've never lost more than 3-4 pounds. And I set a goal to be at my high school weight, and that's what I am today. And guess what? I'm never going back.
Now, so for someone, we've got some graphics up on the screen. We're showing the website. And for those who are on the outside hearing about this, how does it actually happen? How does it actually break down?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the process. There's actually 4 phases of the Ideal Protein protocol diet. Phase 1, and that's really what we should focus on today, is that's where somebody like the two of you would come in saying, hey, this is the weight I am today. This is the goal I have. I want to meet or exceed it. We're going to focus on phase 1. Yep. And if I can, real quick, basically picture your body as 3 separate reservoirs. Reservoir number 1 is the reservoir that has all your sugars, all your sodium, all your glucose, all your carbohydrates. Ideal Protein, myself as a coach, we're going to drain that reservoir, that first reservoir of your 3. We're going to drain it dry in the first 2 to 3 weeks. And what happens then is a word, ketosis. I'd like to have your viewers also Google that. I didn't know what ketosis was back in December of last year, but it's my second love next to my wife, Debbie. I mean, ketosis is like the runner's high of a marathon. It gets you in the frame of mind where you can walk by the refrigerator 2 weeks into this protocol diet, and you just keep walking by. It puts you in a zone. It's much more than that scientifically and medically. But you asked for the difference from other diets.
Right.
It's ketosis. Reservoir number 2 is your muscle mass. The game there is we don't want to touch your muscles. We don't want to reduce it. We want to maintain. So that's via supplements. I was never a pill person per se, but now I understand during a protocol diet why a vitamin A, a CalMag, potassium is critical because of your muscle mass. Let's go to tank 3, the reservoir number 3. That's pretty much your storage tank, and that's where all the fat resides. Basically, when we drain tank number 1, we're jumping over tank number 2 into tank number 3, reservoir number 3, and we're putting the pancreas on overload. Now, that's at the 10,000 foot level. I'm not a physician. I don't pretend to be one, but this protocol works if you follow the rules. And the rules, draining tank number 1, there's a lot of rules to this protocol diet. You sign a contract, not with Brad Jones or Greg Jones or Angela Jones. You sign it with yourself. No sugars, no fruit, no beer, no wine, no diet soda. I haven't had a diet soda since January 10th. And guess what? I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't take naps anymore. I thought being retired, you're supposed to take naps every day. So you ask where the energy comes from, I'm going to actually compliment Ideal Protein. That's really where the energy comes from. Phase 2, 3, and 4. 2, you come off the breakfast product, which we'll touch on in a minute. Phase 3, you come off the lunch product. And phase 4 is really what our gym or fitness clubs are all about. We want the person that loses 80 or 90 pounds to never go back. So we want them to come over and have phase 4, staying in a maintenance program, gym membership, exercising. So those are the 4 quick phases. The diet, once again, plant-based, soy-based. You have a packet of Ideal Protein breakfast, along with supplements, coffee, water. You drink a lot of water.
Yep.
That's the trick on this one, too. I've drank 64, 80 ounces of water for those 11 weeks, and it works. You're draining the tank, but at the same time, you're putting fuel in the tank, supplements, and water. The lunch is another Ideal Protein powdered product, along with a salad and along with 2 cups of vegetables. Certain vegetables. You and I probably like carrots. We like squash. We like sweet peas, but guess what?
The useless ones.
They all have sugar in them, so they're restricted. So there's a lot of things you can't have, and that's where the coach helps, and that's where your mindset, the changing of your mindset comes into play. Your dinner, it's the same old, but it's portion control. You don't have any Ideal Protein. There is one additional packet, and that's the snack. So it's basically a breakfast, a lunch, and a snack. My coach was out of Connecticut. I've never met her, but we talked every week. I weighed in every week. And believe it or not, I've been off the diet long that was on the diet, and we still talk once a week. That's the education portion of it. Ideal Protein, the coach stays with you during this journey.
Before we go any further, just for a second, sort of elaborate on that point, because I think a lot of people maybe get buried in the trying to do it themselves, and sort of talk to us about what that is like, having someone sort of along with you on the ride.
Yeah, and that's critical, because a lot of times it's a spouse, a significant other. In my case, my wife looked at me and said, well, here he goes again. So I didn't really have the coach, so to speak. I had the devil's advocate. But I said I had a coach in Connecticut because there weren't any clinics in the upstate New York area. what you get with Brad Jones here in Seneca Falls, Waterloo, or what you get with Greg and Angela in Lockport, New York, is not only a coach but a friend. We keep a summary sheet. We meet with each individual, each client on a weekly basis, 15 to 20 minutes. We do a weigh-in. We not only check weight reduction, which, by the way, on this ideal protein protocol diet, average weight loss, 4 to 5 pounds for a man, 3 to 4 for a lady on a weekly basis. 11 weeks, 41 pounds, that's 4 pounds. So,
right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So we keep a sheet. We also do measurements. So we talk about reduction in inches, neck, waist, breast, hips, thigh. We do a before and after picture. It's quite a story because of the 48 clients we currently have, about 6 are off the ideal protein diet. They're in phase 4. They don't spend a nickel. However, they get a scrapbook of the before and the new.
Right.
It's amazing. And just coming in, questions, in this day of technology, shooting out daily texts. We had one yesterday, a lady in Geneva, just starting out. She loves spaghetti squash. I'm thinking, I don't think you can have it. So I called my son, who's majored in nutrition. He said, it's a restricted vegetable. You could probably have it once a week. So they talk it through. So to your point, it's a coach, it's a friend.
It's almost like having a dictionary because there is a lot you have to. It's a process.
Yeah, it really is. The other benefit of the ideal protein is each and every day you get about a 3 to 4 minute video clip on your internet. So I mentioned ketosis. I'm into about second week of my protocol diet. That particular video comes up on day 8 or 9. I've got a question, and it seems like they know what question I'm going to have on day 8 or 9.
Right.
Or why you have to drink 60 to 80 ounces of water a day. When I start asking that question 2 or 3 times to myself, all of a sudden, it's almost they know what question. I still get a video each and every day in phase 4 on why you shouldn't go back to sugar.
Right.
It's, that tank number 1, if there's any education, and this is what people learn, is you don't want to go back and fill tank number 1. You want to keep tank number 2 as is or improve it with muscle mass. I have some people that have stayed on the supplements just for that purpose. And then phase 4 is the exercise portion. Out of these 48 clients, I've had one person leave the program, and it was just because she wasn't ready. And everybody else is, everything we do is confidential. However, I do have some people that like to share their stories. We're going to have some of their testimonials on our website. For people that are checking out, our website is www.idealway, W-E-I-G-H, one word, idealwayfingerlakes.com.
So the next question is then, where is it located in the area, in the Finger Lakes?
Well, I had mentioned earlier that Ideal Protein, the way they go to market is either through physicians or chiropractors. Dr. Chris Ryan, his office manager, Jen Salone, they welcomed me with open arms. So I am actually located in the Bonadent building on the west side, the Learning Tree entrance. So that's where my shingle is. I have inventory there. That's where we have the coaches' meetings. And my thinking kind of ties into the thinking of a chiropractor, and I'll compliment Dr. Ryan. Chris is somebody that's really looking to prevent problems or address problems. And, I have a great physician. However, back to my introduction one, we have a pill for that. Chris Ryan and Brad Jones, the staff there is looking to prevent problems. And how do you cut medicine? Unheard of in this day and age, but at my recent physical, my discussion with my physician is to cut my blood pressure pill and to cut my cholesterol. Now, if somebody would have told me that back in December, I would have said, yeah, I have a bridge to sell you. But
Yep.
that's what gives you the energy. You feel better. But yes, it's a thank you to the Bonadent family. It's a thank you to Chris Ryan. But that's where we meet with the clients.
Now, how those who want to reach out, maybe they're interested, maybe they have a question, how do they reach you? Obviously, the idealwayfingerlakes.com is your website. How do they contact you specifically, though?
Yeah. Probably the best bet is go direct to my personal email, Brad Jones, one word, at rochester.rr.com, or feel free to call my cell, 315-651-9590. So this retirement we talked about, it's kind of almost back in full gear. Jim knows I only play golf about once a week. My aspirations was to become a golf professional like you two guys, but
Not quite.
I'm in the health and science now.
So in terms of the product and the protocol, obviously you've shared a lot of information thus far, but walk us through sort of what you talked about that first phase. Walk us through what that experience is like for most people as they go through those first. So is it like a shock period? Is it sort of, how does that work out?
Well, I found out that obesity, overweight, people are thinking about it more than that. I'll use my example. You know, when that lady came in there at our gym, I had been thinking about it, but I wasn't ready. I went to the open house for Ideal Protein up in Buffalo, and the 20 or 30 people there, they were ready. Some of them were referred from their physicians. Some of them had hit the wall. Word of mouth, they saw some results. Matter of fact, most of my new clients, Greg's new clients, are not because we're salesmen. That's not the case. It's because we have some people that have exceeded or in phase 4, and people were saying, wow, you look great. How do you do it? But to your question, I think the most important requirement is you have to be mentally ready. The first 1 or 2 weeks when we're draining the tank, it's like any other diet.
Right.
But boy, I tell you what, when you get into week 3 to whatever it takes, it took me 11 weeks. It takes some people 5 or 6 because they may only want to lose about 10 pounds.
Right.
I have a police officer from Geneva that's over 55 pounds. I have a lady that she would like to have me share my story, and the testimony will be on the website. She went through gastric bypass surgery about 3 years ago. She had lost about 60 pounds and then hit a plateau. She reached out to me probably about 14 weeks ago. We had a good talk, and she said, I hit a plateau, but I thought this surgery was going to let me get 100 pounds down. Well, yesterday she came in after 12 weeks, I believe, and she's down 42 pounds.
Right.
So here's another great testimonial. It's not about Brad Jones. It's about Ideal Protein. Here's a lady that went through major surgery that she thought she was going to get to her goal, and she plateaued, and Ideal Protein brought her all the way down.
You just mentioned something that I wanted to get in before we wrapped up the show here. Surgery, it costs money. BlueCross BlueShield last year, that same study that I mentioned earlier in the show, they estimated that the medical costs associated with obesity in the Finger Lakes region alone at $501 million.
Yes.
$501 million. A lot of people will look at things like what you're talking about and say, well, maybe it's just a fad, maybe it's just a money-making grab. The evidence would suggest that the medical industry is the money-making grab in this situation because the investment to lose weight is significantly less than the cost long-term.
Yes.
How you've been involved in it.
Yeah.
How do you feel sort of looking out and hearing that kind of number?
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to that comment about the commercials every night at 6:30, pharmaceutical, pharmaceutical. I think it's safe to say for your viewers, the three of us, that the pharmaceutical industry really controls our hospitals. So it's everybody's advantage to give people more medicine, more pills. And the good news, your generation gets it, that, you know, being overweight is going to shorten your lifespan compared to my lifespan. So I think we've actually seen the juncture in the road, and now people are going this way. I mean, at our gym fitness club, silver sneakers, it pays for themselves, and that's paid by BlueCross BlueShield, because if they have retirees going feeling good, by paying $30 a month membership fee is much less than paying $200, $300, $400 for medicine. So there may be a time when the industry will start paying people to go on protocol diets. It's not there. We really haven't touched on cost. I will say to any listener or viewer, what you save at Wegmans for going on this particular diet, the savings are almost a wash. You know, I don't go through aisle 1 through 10 anymore at Wegmans, and I love Wegmans. I go to the produce. I know everybody in produce, but and that's the way it is, and that's the way it will be.
Now, before we get you out of here, what is the, for somebody who might be on the fence, what is the most important step, or what is it that usually takes to get them over the hump?
I would think that a 15-minute sit down, looking at some of the videos that we have. I had mentioned the 3 reservoirs, the 3 tanks, to see some of the before and after pictures of people that will allow. I even have some people in phase 4 that will speak on behalf of Ideal Protein, not on behalf of Brad or Angela or Greg. So I would say if they're ready, 15 minutes of their time. And, you know, we hope this business not only grows in Seneca Falls and Lockport. Ideal Protein actually has 5,000 distributors. We're only 2 of those 5,000.
Right.
But for some reason, New York State, upstate New York, there weren't that many. And back to your point, 2/3 of us are obese or overweight. I think there's going to be a few more clinics in the area. I think the timing for us being first in is great. I've got my personal story, and there's 48 other people enjoying the ride as well.
Well, we really appreciate you stopping by. Not your first time on the show, but very interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll be having you back again.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jim, and thank you, Josh.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. I'd like to thank Brad for stopping by and remind everyone to check out the links and contact information we'll be providing below this video window or on fingerlakes1.com. Inside the FLX airs Sundays at 7 p.m. on Time Warner Cable Channel 12. And, of course, the podcast is always available on iTunes, Stitcher, and the fingerlakes1.com app. For Brad Jones, I'm Josh Durso, reminding you to join us next week on another edition of Inside the FLX.